Snapchat TV. Subscribe.
He has also talked about it. That left hook is so good, and it's so long and so precise and so hard, but
What's going on, boxing fans? It's Backchat TV, and I'm back with another video. Unfortunately, you could say it's bad news. There's been reports, extremely reliable reports, unfortunately, that Keith Thurman versus tsyzu is cancelled. Very disappointing. I was really looking forward to this fight with tsyzu, and they say that Sabastian Fundora, the 6'5" plus 154-pound fighter. I don't know how he makes that limit at that height, but he's quite thin, so you know he does it. 6'5", he's stepping in to fight tsyzu. Now I think I'm disappointed in the way that I was looking forward to the fight with Keith Thurman. I was looking forward to seeing Keith Thurman come back after 2 years, but I think it's more because Keith Thurman is a really good salesman. You know, I'm a fan of him. I like the way he speaks, you know, and he has a history of being a great fighter. Yeah, but it's starting to be more of a history. It's so long ago that we're kind of looking at what Keith Thurman achieved all those years ago, beating Sean Porter, beating Danny Garcia, you know, and we're kind of translating that to the Keith Thurman now that we haven't seen much of. But we all know he's got talent. You know, I think that's why people were believing in him, and this would have been a great fight for him to come back. I actually had him losing, even though I'm a big Keith Thurman fan, mainly because of inactivity and the difference in size. There isn't a huge difference, but I just think it's tsyzu's time, his youth, and I think he was going to be difficult. But, you know, it was a 50-50 fight. Keith Thurman can do it all. He can move. He knows what and when to do various things, and he's not inexperienced or anything like that. So I wouldn't have been surprised if it was the toughest fight of tsyzu's career. I also wouldn't have been surprised if Keith Thurman completely outboxed him. So it was going to be a good fight, potentially competitive fight. I was looking forward to it. Closer to the date, the 30th, just coming up. But Keith Thurman just recently, just literally a few hours ago, there's been reports that it's had to be cancelled due to a bicep injury. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that say Keith Thurman is just finished. You can't trust him. He hasn't fought for 2 years. He's pulled out fights before, I think. Or if he hasn't, he's always had these injuries, hasn't fought for a long time. You know, and people are going to just write him off now. But the reason why I still don't write off Keith Thurman, there's a few reasons why. One, I think he's a real fighter. He's not one of these fake people who are picking and choosing their fights and is not really dedicated. So that's why he's, you know, like calling off fights and pulling out and all sorts of things. He's not really like that. He's just been extremely unlucky with injury, and then things happen in life where he got married and had kids, and you know, mainly it's been injury. He's always tried to get back in the ring, and he's just been very unlucky. It happens to some people, you know, and unfortunately it happens more with age. It happens more, the more inactive you are, the more inactive you're likely to be. And that happens with everything. Everything compounds. If you're a lazy person, it's much easier to be more lazy. You know, things compound. The more you do positive things, the better your results. And we can just look at people like Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker. A lot of these fighters that have been very active, they're having a resurgence. They're definitely having a resurgence. Parker is in the best position he's ever been in because he's fought many times. He's fought through losses. Anthony Joshua was adamant that he wanted a lot of fights, and he's looking sharper than you saw what he done to Ngannou, and what he did to Otto Wallin. He's looking razor sharp. Whereas when you look at someone like maybe Tyson Fury, made out to be the best fighter in the world, but he hasn't been so active. And he's only fought one style in Deontay Wilder. and he's not looking good at all. You saw it; he looked like against Francis Ngannou. So, activity, momentum, these things help. You don't get injured as much. It's funny. It's quite counterintuitive because you would have thought that the more you do something very excessive, like fighting regularly, the more you get injured, and that can be the case. But a lot of the times, you bounce back from injuries quicker if you're active. It's most of the time when you're inactive, like Keith Thurman has been, that you get these kind of injuries, and it's unfortunate because he talked the talk. This was his chance to get back in the public eye against a big fighter, and he just couldn't do it, man. These injuries, I think his mindset is still young, and I think his passion is still right up there. But I just think either the body's breaking down because of age, or because of inactivity, or it might just be the fact that he's been off so long. He wanted to get back in the ring so much that he overtrained slightly. That can be something that really happens when you really want to do something, and a lot of people are against you. A lot of people don't think you can win. A lot of people are writing you off because you've been inactive. You want to do it so much. I mean, I saw pictures of Keith Thurman prior to the fight, and he was training hard. He was looking nice, ripped, muscular. He looked like he was ahead of his training schedule. And the only way that he could have got in such great shape, I think, is if he was pushing his body. And if you've been inactive and you push your body too much, this kind of thing is more likely to happen. Just saying, I don't know obviously what happened, but this is what happened. Now, I've seen some people say that, oh, he just wanted to publicize the fight to get his name back out there. He was always going to pull out. He just wanted his name back out. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. I think that there's no one that's going to be more disappointed about what's happened with the injury more than Keith Thurman. This was his big opportunity. I think he's very disappointed, but he has experience, and he's decided to pull out because he knows how bad the injury is. He also knows that he's going to have to be at his best. He's going to have to be able to punch hard to deter someone like tsyzu. And if he's got an injury, there's no point. So I think he did the right thing in the end. I think it was a difficult decision because he really wanted this fight. But, if it's cancelled, it's cancelled. If you've got an injury, there's nothing you can do about it. Like I said, it comes with age and inactivity, as we know. So instead, we have Fundora that steps in. Now, the good thing is, I can get excited about this new replacement because Fundora is not some person who has absolutely no chance. He was an unbeaten fighter before he got stopped in his last fight against Mendoza. He's, a big guy naturally, a big puncher. He's a guy that's always going to be, is always going to make an exciting fight. He comes forward. He throws bombs, and tsyzu can do the same. So it's another exciting fight. Like I said, I did want to see the Keith Thurman fight, but I'm still excited to see this fight. It's still a great fight, I think. So it's not, all is definitely not lost. I like Fundora, and I like to watch this fight. I do think that tsyzu still wins because I thought tsyzu would beat Keith Thurman, and I think tsyzu will beat Fundora. Some people say it's a real fight. This is a fight that it's going to be more competitive. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I think Keith Thurman, tsyzu, I think, is a tough guy. He's a tough man, and I think he doesn't mind it getting tough and physical. I think it plays into his strength, Fundora, being a person who comes forward and throws bombs and doesn't really have a lot of angles or defense. Is going to put it on you and throw a lot of punches. And I think that plays into tsyzu's hands. tsyzu just needs to be fit to deal with Fundora, I think. And I think he is that. So I think he probably stops Fundora, to be honest. If not, I think, he wins. Fundora, for me, is just too easy to hit. That's the biggest problem. He's too easy to hit. And he's a bit, I wouldn't say he's predictable, though. He can be unpredictable in the shots that he throws, but he doesn't use these extremely long arms. He likes to fight on the inside, which is, I'm not saying it's wrong, because everyone's body makeup is different. He seems to have success when he fights like that, but he seems to get caught a lot when he fights like that, because sometimes when you have long arms, You know, sometimes your guard is kind of a little bit wide, and I see tsyzu landing some hard shots on the inside where Fundora likes to fight. So I kind of see Fundora maybe getting stopped in this fight. Whereas with Keith Thurman, I know Keith Thurman's a smaller guy, but Keith Thurman just has more tools. You know, if tsyzu was putting it on Keith Thurman knows how to move. He knows when to hold. If he's in trouble, he knows when to take a knee if he needs to. He actually said this in an interview that I'm coming to win. If I needed to take a knee for some reason, I would do that and regroup. I've got too much experience. And I really believe that he can do it all. He can move. He's got good head movement. You know, he was doing very well in the fight against Pacquiao. It's just that he was kind of moving back when Pacquiao kind of jumped in with that shot. It kind of took him down, but he didn't look massively hurt or anything like that. And arguably, some people say, you know, he won. I'm not sure. I think Pacquiao still won the fight, but I don't necessarily think that Fundora replacing Thurman is a better fight, or the conclusion of who's going to win is any more clear. I think they're both competitive fights. I think Thurman would have maybe given more angles and just made the fight a lot more difficult than maybe Fundora will. But at the same time, they're both difficult fights in different ways. You know, Fundora just has some amazing dimensions, and he's got a high output. He can throw some hard shots in there, but he also takes a lot of shots where Keith Thurman doesn't. So, you know, I can't really balance them out. They both would have been tough fights, but ultimately, I think they're both fights that tsyzu wins. So, make of it what you will. I'm still excited to see the fight. Still a bit disappointed about Keith Thurman, but maybe Keith Thurman will come back soon. Just please not let it be another 2-year layoff. I hope his bicep recovers and we see him back in there with someone else. Maybe it's the best thing for his career, because I think he was probably going to lose this fight. He might get a matchup with someone else that's a big name. You know who I want to see Thurman fight? I want to see him fight Errol Spence. I think that now is the time. Errol Spence no longer looks unbeatable. He used to look unbeatable. We now see that there's levels to it. All that talk about fighting Crawford in the rematch was not really going to happen. I don't really think deep down Spence wanted the rematch. I think it's just his ego that wanted the rematch. Spence lost fair and square. He lost convincingly. There's no need really to see that. And I think deep down Spence knows that as well. So the fight's not happening, and I'm glad the rematch is not happening between Crawford and Spence, and I'm glad it's not happening, to be honest. I want to see Spence back in competitive fights and maybe, you know, winning a fight. And I think the Thurman fight is perfect. Thurman didn't get this fight made, but in his last fight, he looked good, Thurman, although that's 2 years ago. Spence has taken considerable damage. He looks like a shell of himself, really. But, you know, with a good training camp, coming back against a tough fighter, I think this fight's just perfect. So I'm looking forward for them to make Spence versus Thurman. And now I don't know who would win, to be honest. I just think it's the right time for Thurman Spence, man. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or if you disagree. I think it's the right time. Like I said, Spence, I'm not saying he looks a shell of himself, but his last fight, obviously, he looks a shell of himself. But maybe he just needed that time off. Maybe he's back in training. And I think, you know, to get that motivation back and get a good win, I think they both need to fight each other now. Now is the time. I don't want to see Thurman against Boots Ennis, to be honest. I think Boots Ennis too young, too slick, too fast. It's coming up. Thurman is an older man. I think he wins that, and it doesn't really prove anything, you know. But this, I think this is good because both men don't look great, if you see what I mean. Both men could be on the back end of their careers. So I just think it's a perfect matchup. Let me know what you think. I'm on to the next one.
I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?
Subscribe.